We are Southeastern 16. I'm Chase Robinson. That is Chris Lee. As we're going to talk Auburn versus Alabama A&M. Three biggest questions for Auburn heading into their week one game. They're a big favorite as they'll be on the Plains for this one to start the season. It will be a 6:30 kickoff, August 31st, week one there. And you can watch it on the SEC Network Plus there in that week one game. So we'll hop into that in just a second. But first, let's talk Bet Online. They are the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from UFC to baseball to Formula One racing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. When the game's over, you can go to the online casino, get in on a game of blackjack or poker or one of the over 150 slots games. Head over to the website today to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, for your 50% free bet credit on your first deposit up to $250. BetOnline, the game starts here. Also, if you'd be interested in sponsoring any of our content, we have some spots available for some sponsorships. You can email caroline.smith at southeastern14.com. And if you'd be interested in sponsoring any of our content here on Southeastern 16, we would love to have those conversations with you. So again, there you see it, caroline.smith at southeastern14.com. All right, Chris, Auburn Tigers versus Alabama A&M. Auburn 48.5 point favorite with most of the services. And so it's it's nothing new that Auburn's a big favorite going into this week one game.
Yeah. I mean, and let's be real here. We're not going to sit here and break down all the this and that of the matchup, because I think, if Auburn doesn't win this big, we may be having a different podcast afterwards. But anyway, right. They do play the games. Players do get reps. And I think that's where we're focused on, just some items of interest. And I like the first one that you've come up with, Chase. Yeah.
So the first biggest question for me, like, things are different at Auburn. New coaching staff, a lot of new players on the field. They've rebuilt some pieces, including wide receiver on the offensive side of the ball. But to me, a big question is, what will the offense look like? Will the offense look different with Hugh Freeze calling plays? Last year, it was Philip Montgomery, the offensive coordinator, who was the majority play caller. Now, I'm sure Hugh Freeze kind of inserted his opinion occasionally throughout the year, but Philip Montgomery, that was his job. He was the play caller for the Tigers last year. Hugh Freeze is taking over that role. Derek Nix is the offensive coordinator, but Hugh Freeze, who's called his own plays as long as he's been a head coach at Ole Miss, at Liberty, and to me is a really good play caller, he is taking over those duties this year. So what will be different? What will the offense look like with Hugh Freeze calling the plays on the sideline as well as being the head coach? I'm really intrigued to see if there's a difference from what we saw last year, and because there were some head scratchers last year on why they did certain things. And I'm sure Hugh Freeze thought the same thing. We could have done that better. We could have done this better when he went back and watched the film. So that's going to be his job this year. And I'm interested to see if there are any differences in Hugh Freeze calling the plays versus last year.
Yeah. Hey, look, Chase, this league is full of offensive geniuses. You got Josh Heupel doing his thing at Tennessee. And of course, we know about Hugh Freeze, how he built his reputation, how he had his success with what he did at Ole Miss. He just had a fantastic level of success there. Didn't go last year the way they wanted to go at Auburn. But here's the other thing. Speaking of Ole Miss, Chase, you mentioned Derek Nix. When you're talking play callers and guys that know how to run an offense, Lane Kiffin's on that short list of people we talk about. Well, what does Derek Nix bring that maybe was a twist that Ole Miss did? Is there something new that he can add to the mix? I just think that combination of those two in its new form this year will be very interesting.
I think so too. And so I'll be intrigued to see that. What other questions we got for the Auburn Tigers heading into week one, Chris?
Cam Coleman. That's my question, Chase.
And a good question.
Yeah. I mean, what's it look like? We've been waiting to unwrap this package. I know you've been seen in spring games and practices, but what's it look like on the field? It's Alabama A&M. I get it. I don't think they're going to line up with guys that can cover him, but we want to see him get the ball in his hands, see what he can do. I'm guessing if you're an Auburn fan going to that game and you're riding in the car, Cam Coleman's going to come up in conversation as you're making that drive or watching with your buddies pregame? It's an open-ended question, but what's it look like with Cam Coleman?
And I think it's a really good question because it's so fascinating to see, one, the adjustment that these guys have to make. They've been playing high school football, now a very high level of high school football. But when you make the jump from high school to college, that's a big jump. I mean, football is different. These guys are bigger, faster, stronger than what you've been seeing in high school. And so, yeah, it is going to be interesting to see. This is his first game in a college uniform, lining up against another college team. Like, what's the translation going to be? I'm sure it's going to be good. But yeah, just to finally see him in an Auburn uniform making plays for the Tigers, I think a lot of people are excited to see that.
Yeah, and I think the other part of that is getting in the ball, right? The elephant in the room with this Auburn team, and certainly the offense, is the quarterback position. I think we were both a little shocked that Auburn didn't go out and get something that had been more productive than what Payton Thorne gave Auburn a year ago. And boy, has that been a hot topic around this program.
Yeah.
But that leads me to where I was going to go next, Chase. And this is going to happen anyway, right? You want to see what it looks like when Payton Thorne drives the offense. You don't make any sweeping conclusions because it's Alabama A&M if it goes well. But what do we think we're going to see in that game? We're probably going to see guys other than Payton Thorne play offense. Hank Brown is the backup, it appears, as we're doing this about a week and a half out from game time. Hank Brown played high school football in my backyard in the Nashville area, played for Lipscomb Academy, and Trent Dilfer, another guy that knows how to generate offense. And he plugged into that system. I don't know that he was like a top 20 or 30 quarterback nationally, but he was probably targeted for those skills and for that experience. And quarterbacks in Hugh Freeze's offense have been pretty productive for the most part over his career. And so, Hank Brown is going to get some reps here. He didn't have a lot of them last year, but I'm just kind of interested if it looks really nice with Hank Brown at the helm. And last year when he played 7 of 9 for 132 yards, it was productive in a short spot. What does it look like with Hank Brown in his second year? And, if that starts looking good in future games, the tough part of their schedule is coming in the second half. Does Hugh Freeze see something in this game that maybe leads him to take the training wheels off in some games that follow?
And there must have been vast improvement from Hank Brown because he's been in a quarterback battle, per se, for that second spot with Holden Geriner there at Auburn. And Geriner was the third string, got some playing time a year ago and has the last couple of years. But Hank Brown has stepped into that backup role, and I think there's been a lot of improvement from him, just from what I'm hearing out of the Auburn fall camp. And so, yeah, I think we'll see him, and it'll be interesting to see the improvement he has made and what he does look like in certain situations, because if there's more inconsistency this year, like we've been saying with Payton Thorne, where do you go? And maybe Hank Brown's that guy.
Yeah, maybe so. I think it's going to be a fascinating year for Auburn just in so many ways. What it looks like with Freeze, all the things we've done. And again, not going to get a great idea what that necessarily looks like in game one, but you'll get some idea. And those are some places I think we'll be looking.
So Auburn, Alabama A&M, they will kick off the season 6:30 p.m. on August 31st there on the SEC Network. Plus is where you can watch it. We'll have you covered that game and every game with the SEC, involving the SEC, and all season long. We got you covered with SEC football. So subscribe to our channel here at Southeastern 16. Like this video, share it with your friends. And we give you content on SEC football, basketball, and baseball daily here on the channel. And so check out the rest of our videos as we get you ready for the 2024 SEC football season and all season long here on Southeastern 16. That's Chris Lee. I'm Chase Robinson, and we are brought to you by BetOnline.